KCA. My name is Rob Weltman. I'm the Vice President of KCA Community Association. Unfortunately, John Laney, our President, is under the weather and couldn't make it this evening, so I'm standing in for him. Our main topic today is going to be this Maui destination plan, but we have some other things we want to talk about before that. First of all, what is KCA, and why do we even exist, and why should you join us? Our vision, our priorities are up on our website, and I just want to summarize them. Shaping the future of Maui through smart growth, when we need housing for our kupuna and for our residents, our children, to be able to stay on the island, but we don't need necessarily the kind of resort growth that pushes out the people who work here. Fire prevention, we're working a lot on making sure that the county and the state are doing what they can, and that we as individuals, as residents, also do what we can to prevent fire and to minimize the damage when fire does happen. Flooding mitigation, and we're heading right into our January-February period where we often have a lot of flooding, and working on things like the clearing of the gulches and upcountry water reservoirs, ways to collect water to prevent it all from rushing down at once. Roads and infrastructure to accommodate the increased population that we already have and the population that's on its way. And also wastewater initiatives to make sure that our wastewater is not going into injection wells and killing off our reefs, which we need for many reasons, for tourism as well as for protection of our coastlines. So a lot of reasons to be part of KCA. So we hope that you'll tell your neighbors or your friends that you're here tonight and that you enjoyed it and that they should also join KCA. I want to thank ProArts Maui, our host here, who provide this excellent facility, comfortable, lots of room, easy to hear, easy to see, and you should check out, if you haven't already done it, you should check out their program, because they have very intense program which covers all sorts of things, music and cultural presentations that I'm sure you'll find something you'll want to come see. We always encourage people to bring a donation to the food bank, something non-perishable. And you can also donate financially, you can give a contribution to them. And KCA has been doing this for many years, but you probably saw the report that came out, I think it was yesterday, on food insecurity on Maui. And it turns out that, just incredible, that 41% of households on Maui are food insecure. In other words, they could have a week where they don't have money to put enough food on the table. And that's up 10% from last year. For various reasons, but mostly because of the fire, and then a lot of people are still out of jobs, out of work, and then the cutting of the SNAP contributions, and then the federal shutdown. So I don't think we have any of our state or county reps here today. One thing that we have to do this time of year, every year, is elect the new board of directors. So we have a slate. We had a committee that was approved by this congregation, and they went out and checked to see if we had any new volunteers to join the board, but there weren't any. So our slate of our proposed slate is the same as the existing board of directors. And I'd like every board member to come up on the stage so you can see everyone who's here, so you can see who they are, and each one will tell you how long they've been on the board and how long they've also been in our community. So coming up here if you're here, board member. So the board members are John Laney, our president, and like I said, he couldn't make it tonight. And myself, Rob Weltman, who is the vice president. Patricia Stilwell, Mike Moran, Harry Hecht, Charles Schulenberg, Bob Schaefer, Randy Wagner, Adele Rugg, Audrey Lester, and Andrew Beerer. And Andrew couldn't be here this evening either. So I've been on, I'll start. I've been on Maui. We started moving to Maui in 2000, but we didn't actually complete until 2013. So we've been here full time since 2013. And I've been on the board since 2015. I think I've been vice president since about 2017, 2018, maybe something like that. And I want to say a few words about Andrew too, because since he couldn't be here himself. Andrew has been on the board forever. I'm guessing at least 15 years. I think longer than even Mike. And among many other things, he has been the champion for the high school. And over, he would fight and get funding for that, and then the state legislation would let that funding lapse, and he would go back and fight again and get them to put it on the agenda again and adopt it again. And finally, after all these years, we have a high school, and I believe that this year is the first year that they're going to have a full 4-year. So we'll have the first 4 years, and we'll have people graduating for the first time. Amazing. So I wish you could be here, but he has definitely put in the work, and there's a lot of accomplishments to show for it. See, where do we have Patricia?
I'm Patricia Stillwell. I've been in Maui for 21 years with my husband Jefferson, and I've been on the board, truthfully I don't know how long, maybe 12 years probably at least, and I've been membership committee and treasurer for probably at least 10 of those years.
Aloha, Mike Moran. I have to correct our vice president. I am the most senior one. I even beat Andrew by 1 year. Some people think I was been here forever, and sometimes it feels like it. But I've been on Maui about 28 years, and was asked to join the board many years ago. And they said, a year or two, we'll do it. Oh, that's life. But I'm proud to do it, and proud of our membership, proud of our board, that we do a lot of good. And I say that with all humility, but we do. Mahalo.
Aloha, I'm Randy Wagner, and I lived here for 30-some years. My kids have grown up here. My parents lived here. I think I've been on the board about 12 years, and I've been involved in design review during that time. So keep plugging along.
Hi, I'm Bob Shaberg. I bought my place here in 1990. I came here permanently in 2015, and that's it. I've been on the board for 3 years.
Aloha, I'm Audrey Lester. I've been in Maui for 10 years now, and I've been on the board for a couple. So I'm one of the new ones on the block, and I can tell you, we have so much knowledge on the board about what's been going on, what's happened in the past, what we need to do in the future, and who to talk to. I've been learning more about how to attend county meetings and testify, and these guys are experts, so they're in good hands.
Good evening and aloha. My name is Adele Rugg. I have been on Maui for 45 years, full time. Living in Kihei for almost 40, and we have an excellent board, and I'm very proud to be on the board. And I don't remember how many years I've been on the board, but I love it, and because we really do a lot for the community. Mahalo.
Thank you. So what we usually do is, unless anyone has any objections, is we'll offer this whole slate for your up or down votes. So these 11 names, where everyone is here except for John and Harry and Andrew, I think. So can we, and actually only members vote. So everyone can come to this meeting. Everyone's welcome, but as for voting, only people who are members of KCA can vote. So all in favor of this slate, please raise your hand. Thank you. And all those against? Raise your hand. Okay, thank you. So I find this slate has passed, so we have a new board, which happens to be identical to the previous board. Okay, another thing I want to do is we have these, what we call the Willy Willy Awards, which we hand out. We don't do it every year. Sometimes we do for more than one person, sometimes not at all. This year we have two awardees. So why Willy Willy? Well, this is a Willy Willy. And Willy Willy is kind of a South Maui thing, the South Maui plant. We have the most beautiful Willy Willy plants trees I've ever seen in Wailea and Makena. And they can grow very big, and they have these beautiful orange-red flowers. And one thing that's unique about them is that in summer, when it's hot, they drop their leaves. And they do that to preserve moisture, so they don't evaporate moisture from the leaves. And the bark, they can do photosynthesis with the bark, so they can survive the summer, and then it looks like the tree is entirely dead, but then it comes back again when the weather turns cooler towards late fall. And so they're survivors, and they stick with it. And so a Willy Willy warrior is someone who sticks with it, and even when the going is tough. And we have many such people in Maui. Some that we've awarded in the past, and we have two we want to award this year, who have not just once, but over the years have come back and continued working on until they've made progress on things that benefit everyone in South Maui. So our two awardees this year are David Kanahele, and Mike Moran will talk about Daniel. The other one is Tova Callender. And Tova couldn't be here this evening, but we hope to see her in January, and then I'll introduce her a little bit more thoroughly. But you may know that Tova was the West Maui Watershed and Coastal Management Coordinator. That's the West Maui Ridge to Reef project, and she was the manager of that for almost 14 years. And then she fairly recently switched to focus more across the island, and also much more in South Maui, where she lives. And she's become the Ridge to Reef Coordinator at the Department of the Division of Aquatic Resources at the DLNR. And she's been there for almost a year now. She also recently joined the board of the Maui Nui Marine Resource Council. And in the months right after, maybe the month or two right after the fire 2 years ago, you may have seen her on the news in the water, collecting water samples to find out if the water was safe, if people could go back to the Lahaina, and people could start restoration. She is really someone who is puts her work where her ideas are. So, Mike, you want to introduce Daniel?
Aloha once again. You guys thought you got rid of me? Not yet. I was asked to give this award to Daniel Kanahele. I will be brief, but I will tell you how I first met Daniel when I first became more active in the community through the KCA. And of course, those were the days when all the meetings you had to go in person. So you know this situation, if you're going to go to a council meeting, committee meeting, you had to drive down to Wailuku, find a parking spot, and those of you that did it in those days, you had to avoid Officer Takuma giving you a parking ticket while you were trying to do that. But in going to those meetings, I didn't know who Daniel was, but it seemed that every meeting I went to, he was there testifying and seemed to be saying the right things. So because we were fellow testifiers there, we started chatting a little bit, and I asked him if he knew about the KCA. He said he was very familiar with KCA. And I said, would you like to be on the board? And he said, I'd like to think about it first. And that told me something about Daniel that has consistently been his attitude. He doesn't jump into things. He is very considerate of the situation. He's not going to waste your time or his time. If he can help, he will. And a few weeks later, he said he thought about it, and if KCA would have him, he would be willing to be on our board. And we held on to him for 10 years, so he got his postdoctorate degree with KCA before he left us. And this year we, as a group, said, how come Daniel never got a Willy Willy Award? Well, tonight we're going to change that. And Daniel is not a person who looks for limelight. He's the guy doing the work in the background. So I wasn't sure he was going to be willing to accept it, but he said yes, because of who the organization was and because of his close relationship to the Willy Willy, he would be willing to accept it. So Daniel, would you come up, please, and I'll give you your certificate. And you can speak as long as you want.
The first thing I'd like to say is I think the KCA should donate Mike Moran and Andrew Beer to the food bank because I believe they're non-perishable. Don't you agree? So I'll just say a few words. I'd just like to thank four of my kumu, four of my teachers. First, I'd like to thank Keakua, the creator. I'd like to thank my parents. I wouldn't be here without them. So my dad, Daniel Kanahele, he was born in Lahaina Luna. And his dad was from Hana, and his mom, my grandmother, was from Kaupo. And then my mother, Elizabeth, and she's from the Big Island. Her family's from Ka'u, the Black Sand Beach of Punaluu, and from Kohala. And so yeah, I'm part Native Hawaiian, so I was born and raised here. And my ancestors came here, I don't know, on a canoe a long, long time ago. I also like to thank the KCA Community Association. I was, like, as Mike said, a board member for 10 years. He's the one that recruited me. I consider Mike Maui Island treasure. I really do, because of his knowledge. His depth of knowledge of South Maui District is amazing. So I thank Mike for persuading me to come on the board. And I just want to acknowledge some of the KCA members I serve with, like Rob Weltman. He recently was honored by the Sierra Club. He was awarded the Bob Batson Award. That's for his dedication and leadership and service to the community behind the scenes. He's one of those quiet, effective guys behind the scenes with multiple skill sets, but never seeks recognition, but he's always doing something. So, yeah, he's a giver. And then my friend who's on the board, Randy Wagner, we both share the same birthday. So I always wish each other happy birthday on our birthday. And then Patricia Stillwell, she was in my freshman class when I joined the board, and she's still on it. I don't know what degree you're trying to get to, postdoctorate, but she's got amazing skill sets, and she has an amazing husband, Jefferson. Jefferson is like, he should win this award. He's always doing stuff in the community. And then Adele Rugg, I consider she's Miss Congeniality at KCA. She's served, I think, on every board and commission you can think of. And I don't know who else I missed who's not here, but if I missed you, call mine. I'm here because I want to honor the KCA. That's why I accepted this award. Because KCA was a great teacher, taught me about civics, taught me about county government and how it works. It taught me about the issues that affect our area. So people should join the board if you want to become more akamai, more Ike, have more Ike knowledge about the area. It's good to come to the meetings, but it's also good to volunteer. Then finally, I want to thank my friend, the Willy Willy. This is my plant. I brought, in the old days, we used to give Willy Willy trees to the awardees. So I brought my own Willy Willy tree to give to myself. It was raised from a seed, a little red seed, a little bit smaller than an M&M's, and yeah, now it's a toddler. And these things take a long time to grow if they have very little water. They're amazing plants. They grow. They're the upper story plants of the Hawaiian lowland dryland forest, one of the rarest ecosystems in the United States of America. It's a top 20. That's how rare this ecosystem is from where this plant comes. And why are plants important to me? Because almost every Hawaiian cultural practice revolves around one plant, even more, at least one. Everyone you can think of has to do with the plant. So the Polynesians who came here were transformed by the biota, by the plants they found here, by the flora and fauna, and were transformed and became what we are today, what people call us, Hawaiians. It's because of plants like this. The reason why my ancestors were able to survive on this island. So I'm here to honor all things Hawaiian, because there are very few places that are still Hawaiian left. And so we need to protect whatever spaces are still Hawaiian. I'm an endangered species. Sometimes I feel that way. But I have aloha for everybody. As Hawaiians, it's natural for us to have aloha. As kanaka ma'ole, to have aloha for everyone, to accept everyone. We're very accepting people. We're very loving people. But sometimes you have to put up with some of us because of our past history and the things that we went through. So we're all working on being better people, better citizens. So I thank all my kumus, and I thank the KCA for giving me the wili wili. That's the only word I ever got my whole life. Thank you very much.
Okay, and so on to our main topic today. So, let's see. So the Maui Destination Action Plan. This is from the Hawaii Tourism Authority, and the idea is to look at tourism and what needs to change, what can be done better, what its impacts are, what the priorities should be. I'm quoting from the DMAP itself here. It says, the updated DMAPs will place greater emphasis on managing sensitive and high-impact areas to ensure tourism supports the well-being of local communities and the long-term sustainability of Hawaii's unique natural and cultural resources. It also talks about regenerative tourism, and it says that's different from and better than just sustainability. It says regenerative tourism takes sustainability one step further and focuses on the net benefit of the visitor economy to a destination, looking at social and cultural benefits and costs. Regenerative tourism is bolder and more inspiring. It aims not just to do less harm, but to go on and restore the harm that our system has already done to the natural world, and by using nature's principles to create the conditions of life to flourish. It views wholes and not parts, and is a very different way of looking at the world. So we're lucky to have Meagan Degaia with us today to walk us through this. So Meagan is the destination manager in the Hawaii Tourism Authority for Maui and Lanai, and she took that position with HCA earlier this year. She graduated cum laude with a degree in conservation and a minor in women's studies from George Mason University in Northern Virginia. And she has been dedicated to conservation and community engagement throughout her career. And now she's focusing on regenerative tourism since 2017. So she's going to present where this plan is at, and we're at the first draft already. So we have the benefit of some meetings that have already happened. So I just want to add that the reason why one of the reasons why I invited Meagan to come to this is because the HCA would not give enough budget for them to hold a meeting in Maui. They held meetings in Wailuku and a couple other places, but they didn't feel that they had money to have a meeting in South Maui, even though we are clearly one of the centers for tourism in Maui County. But we and also Rotary in South Maui I'd just like to offer a forum so people can hear about this and provide their feedback. So welcome, Meagan. Well, after Meagan speaks, there'll be plenty of time for questions and discussion.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much, Rob, and thank you to the KCA Community Association and to everyone that's come out this evening. I really appreciate it, and we recognize that you could have been anywhere else tonight and you chose to be here, so thank you. And I also want to say ho'omai ka'i to my dear longtime friend, Daniel Kanahele. It's such a nice surprise to see you and see you being honored in this way. And I want to make mention also that Daniel was the first person that introduced me to the Willy Willy tree. He introduced me to the bright red seed, showed me how to find it, walked the land with me, and he gave me my very first Willy Willy tree at the time. So thank you so much for all the knowledge and time that you've been willing to spend with me over the years. It really means a lot to me, and you deserve the award. So tonight I'll be speaking about the Maui Destination Management Action Plan. I'll be speaking about the history of the first plan, and then we'll be touching on what's on the horizon and what's happened thus far in the planning process for the new DMAP, as it's called, acronym-wise, and then also how you can continue to be involved in the process. I also have handouts. I'd love to get your mana'o, your thoughts, on a variety of different questions about hotspots, meaning areas with high visitor density, how the Hawaii Tourism Authority can have a better relationship with you, and what you think about visitor education that's needed, all kinds of good questions. So I ask that you take a moment, please take time to fill out the handout. And I also have my business card. If you want to text me a photo of it later, that would be wonderful as well if you really want to kind of dig into it after this meeting. I also have my business cards, and I'd also love to get your email address so that I can share out updates from time to time and let you know about other community input sessions that we'll be having about this. Okay, so into the DMAP itself. So this process began initially back in 2020 when the state convened a series of steering committees on each of the islands throughout Hawaii, and it was really the Hawaii Tourism Authority's first effort to steer things in a more regenerative direction, meaning where tourism can give back more than it takes. And so these local steering committees were comprised of county government, state government, community organizations, nonprofits, and also visitor industry folks. And they created a broad solutions-based plan to reset and redefine tourism over a 3-year period. So these are 3-year plans. And first I'll be talking about just some of the successes that came out of the first DMAP. And then I'll also touch on the audit that happened and how that's steering us in a more refined direction. And we'll also be talking briefly about the priority hotspots that have emerged out of our series of community input sessions that we've had over the last handful of months. And if anybody wants to dig deeper, I'm happy to talk after the meeting or another day if you're interested in hearing even more details about just the implementation successes and challenges that we had, and also lessons learned. I'm happy to talk about this ad nauseum with whoever's interested, but I'm going to keep it as high level as possible for tonight. And we can go ahead and move to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to be touching on some of the actions that grew out of this first DMAP. So one of them is the mineral-only sunscreen dispenser program, which you may have seen. Raise your hand if you've seen one of these. Okay, wonderful. So this has been funded by the Hawaii Tourism Authority for the past few years. So thankful for our partnership with the county, who gave us these permits, and their office has helped us quite a bit in obtaining these permits. And then also we partnered with Maui Nui Marine Resource Council and a slew of other wonderful conservation organizations, Rotary Club, for example. And we have 20 volunteers who are actively cleaning and refilling these dispensers every week throughout the island. So very thankful for this initiative, and it's going strong. We can move on to the next one. This is one of the dispensers over at Whalers Village, where there's 4 sunscreen dispensers at that beachfront mall. Next slide. Okay, we also partnered with Maui Nui Marine Resource Council again on their Reef Friendly Landscaping Coalition program that they were doing, and what this entailed was partnering with resorts and encouraging them, getting them to stop the use of chemical pesticides and fertilizers on a portion of their property. So then, in lieu of those chemical pesticides and fertilizers, they instead agreed to receive a years-long consultation and also a biological amendment, essentially a compost tea that was customized for their soil profile. And so that was a really positive program that we did in partnership, and the DMAP funds through the Hawaii Tourism Authority paid for a significant portion of that. Next slide. And most significantly, we also partnered with organizations out in East Maui. So as we know, the Hana Highway is an area that is fairly congested. It's a very rural area, and it has a lot of impacts from tourism and pressures from tourism. So we convened an East Maui advisory group. It was comprised of 25 residents across the 4 moku in East Maui, and they advised on how they wanted tourism management to take place. One of the first things that they did was they voted on the top 5 places that were in most need of management and relief. So Naili Ha'ele, also known as Bamboo Forest, was one of those places. Kainai Peninsula was one, Waikamoi Falls, and also Kaihululu, which is also known as Red Sand Beach, and Waioka, which is also known as Venus Pools. And so one of the interesting things that they did also was they defined a visitor as anyone that does not live in those 4 moku of East Maui. So that was how we defined a visitor in the request for proposal. And we used their direction and their guidance to write the request for proposal, which we then put out to the East Maui community to bid on and apply for. We ended up partnering with 3 East Maui-based organizations to conduct management along the road to Hana. If you can go to the next slide. And it was up to the community to determine access. So here it is at the Ili Ha'ele, which is a private property. It's illegal to park there, it's illegal to trespass. And so this is Kawai, she's wonderful. She's one of the KNI residents who was serving as one of the stewards at this tent. And they chose the name Malama Maui Hikina, and that means caring for East Maui. Next slide, please. This is them as well. They were also conducting visitor surveys, gathering visitor data. Next slide. This was out at Waikamoi Falls. This spot was interrupted due to the county road work that was happening in that area. So I think that was kind of an abbreviated one. Next slide. They were also doing cultural weaving and sharing out mana'o and storytelling down in Kainai Peninsula for free for visitors on some Saturdays. And here are the stewards out at Kaihululu. You can see they have a kumu kanawai, a code of conduct to share out appropriate visitor behavior. They're sharing out about the significance and the meaning of the traditional place name here, and talking story with folks, providing good information to visitors who are coming through. Next slide. They did decide to close this site after a serious injury occurred at Kaihululu. Next slide. And here are the stewards at Waioka. They've got their kumu kanawai here again, and one of the things that I really liked about what they were doing was ensuring visitor safety, because deaths have occurred here due to flash flooding, and the name Waioka indicates that. So they were sharing out that traditional meaning of the place name to visitors who were passing through, and then they were also letting folks know that because it is subject to flash flood, they would sound an alarm if they saw the waters rising, or if they heard from residents higher up in the mountain via text that the water was rising rapidly. So they would sound the alarm, visitors would know that they need to evacuate. So this was a really positive thing to ensure our visitors' safety. Next slide. This is over at Honoleva Falls, another popular site. This Holani Hana was the organization stewarding this spot. They had as many as 4 stewards here, providing info, keeping people safe out of the road, helping people pull in and out of parking spaces. We had these organizations had a lot of success with this program, and I really commend all the work that they did. Next slide. Just another photo. Next slide. And next slide. Thank you. So resident satisfaction increased significantly through this Malama Maui Hikina pilot program. So they conducted resident satisfaction surveys before the stewards were boots on the ground and launched, resident satisfaction was literally 0% across all 4 moku in East Maui when it came to visitors, tourism. And while the stewards were launched at all of the sites, this was an 8-month-long program, resident satisfaction increased from 80% up to 100%, depending on the criteria that they were measuring. So a huge difference in terms of what's possible when funding can be provided for community to manage tourism the way they want it to be done. There were over 16,000 direct interactions with visitors, so it really made a big impact. And they were also able to successfully prevent trespassing, illegal parking, ensure safety, and above all, they were able to demonstrate the proof of concept of the program. And so Councilmember Sinensi's office with the county approached Holani Hana and Keauhali'i, 2 of the organizations that we worked with, and offered them additional funding to continue stewardship. So to this day, they're stewarding Kaihululu and also in the process of continuing to resume stewardship of Waioka as well. And some other really positive things came out of this program also, but we can move on to the next slide. Happy to talk more about this with anyone if you're interested. So there was a DMAP audit that took place. The state did an audit of our work. I will say that the audit was done a year before our work was finished, and the audit was very critical of the work that we did. By nature, the DMAP itself, all of the plans were, like I said, they were broad and solutions-based plans, and legislators wanted to see, or the state auditors rather, wanted to see that the plans be more focused. So in this way, they're directing that we focus on hotspots for this next DMAP, so meaning areas with high visitor density, so think overcrowded places where there's congestion, maybe not enough parking, and crowds of people. They also wanted us to be more specific, so identify our key performance indicators, what we're measuring our success by from the start. And then also, whereas with the first DMAP we were given a lump sum of money in the beginning, now we really have to make our case to the legislators for the different projects that we're doing and identify more specifically what our budget asks are for each of the different actions that we're proposing. Next slide. So we convened a new advisory group. If you're interested to know who those members are, happy to share that with you. We have 28 members, and again, now we have more community voices on it than before. Now that we've woven our web a little bit bigger within the community over the course of the last few years. And we also have county, government, visitor industry folks on there. We've got some really robust conversations happening. So what we've been doing is staggering our advisory group meetings with virtual and in-person meetings. And we have been able to do quite a significant amount of community meetings. So we did virtual ones over the summer. We did outreach out in Kaupo, Hana, Keanaina Wailuanui, Haiku, Kahalui, I think I already said Kahalui, and Lahaina. So, and then here we are tonight, and then also spoke at the Rotary Club, as Rob mentioned. So this is not the end. The community input sessions will continue. The Maui DMAP draft is being written right now, as is the one for Lamei. And this is our process. So you'll hear from me again. I'm hoping I'll have the opportunity to come out with you and either share the first draft once we have it, or once it's, or at least the opportunity to weigh in online and provide your input there. And certainly once it's finalized, be happy to come back out and share it with you. Next slide, please. Okay, so hotspots. These are areas with high visitor density. They're overcrowded places. And from the community input sessions and conversations we've had with the community, here are the ones that are emerging. So Honolulu Bay, Save Honolulu Coalition has come up with a really wonderful management plan, and we're seeking to partner with them. If you're interested in learning more about it, they created a really great 14-minute video. I'd be happy to text you. It's really well done, really detailed. And what they're interested generally in is allowing for timed access, where 30 visitors are allowed to come to Honolulu Bay at a time, open up more parking so it's not crowded along the roadway. And then the visitors would be led through what they're calling a cultural corridor, where they're going to be then learning about the history, the culture, the ecology, and then that'll culminate in them getting certified and being given the ability to then go snorkeling. They also envision a separate resident access. They do want all residents to go through the certification at least once. And then there'll also be kind of an outdoor kiki classroom in that area. And they also want to work more with the commercial boats that come in so that they send out an ambassador who paddles out to the boat, does a KCA, does cultural protocol, and then shares those same orientations to open the eyes of the visitors so that they can really understand how to behave responsibly in the water and better recognize what they're getting to experience. Nut Ili Ili Ha'ele, other slide please, sorry. Thanks. Nut Ili Ili Ha'ele is still being unmanaged. The organization that had been managing it through the Malama Maui Hikina pilot program didn't want to continue management. And the residents out in KNI, they would like that fence to be closed off. They would like it to be a secured property so that no more injuries occur. So we're exploring conversations to see what might be possible with that. And then down in KNI Peninsula, there's some issues with congestion, some unsafe behavior with the ocean, and so they're wanting 2 stewards to be down there to just help with traffic flow, keep visitors safe, provide information, history, and cultural information so that they can better engage with visitors to prevent trespassing and other behavior that isn't quite welcome. So this is kind of what's on the horizon. I haven't yet seen the first DMAP draft, really looking forward to being able to read it. Next slide, please. And I just want to say mahalo ia oko. Thank you all so very much for your time and your attention. I'd love to pass out these input forms if you're willing to take a moment and fill them out. Also, if I could have your email address, I'd really appreciate that. And I've got my business card, so please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm also happy to answer any questions that you might have now.
I'm curious, when you mentioned the station had been closed at Red Sand Beach after an injury, why would that be?
That's a good question. So they made that decision in conjunction with the fire department, and so this was a theme that we heard when we were invited to do a huaka'i out there in East Maui, was that when injuries occur, it's often residents that show up as first responders, and then they carry that trauma of rescuing someone, or maybe if someone has passed away, then they have that tough, painful experience that they then carry for the rest of their lives. And then so there's that mental health impact. And beyond that, there's the fact that being in such a rural area, it's challenging for life-saving services to reach the folks out there. So when there's more injuries, or if there's an injury happening by a visitor, then it reduces the life-saving rescue services that are available for the kapuna and the other residents out in East Maui. So it's very important that we reduce injuries, and the people, like Daniel was saying, Hawaiian people, they have so much aloha, and so they're going to show up and try to save someone's life or prevent an injury if it's happening, and also out of respect for people's safety, they wanted to close the site to prevent further injuries from taking place. This organization had such a strong cultural foundation. They incorporated protocol throughout all of their daily stewarding, and they also did protocol after the injury took place. So it was a really beautiful and thing to learn that they did that, to cleanse the area.
I can fully appreciate that, but does that mean now there is no prevention from people taking that incredibly dangerous path alongside the cliff to get down to the Red Sand Beach? Are there no restrictions because that station has been removed?
So this station, they actually are continuing to steward Kaihululu now through county funds. They are, right now, what they're doing is they're allowing 20 people at a time. So I believe they're stewarding the site from like late morning through early, or like morning through early afternoon. I think the hours sometimes vary. But when I was just out there last month, they said that they allow 20 people at a time. It's an honor system where they ask people to stay about 2 hours or so and then come on out. You know, if it's met the max, then they ask people to wait before other people come out, before more go in. And I know they are educating people about the safety of it. And I know before, through the Malama Maui Hikina pilot program, if there was a kapuna or someone that they were cautioning against going on the trail, then they would let those folks hang out in the tent with them while the rest of the people went. So they are cognizant of ensuring safety.
Thank you.
Thanks for your question. Any other questions?
Daniel has one like.
Hello, Meagan. So, do you know what the current average ratio is for visitors and residents, say annual rev?
I believe it's 1 in 4 on Maui.
That high? Wow. Thank you.
Thanks for your question.
So no hot spots identified in South Maui?
There, some folks from KCA came to our Kahui meeting. If anyone's interested, I have I think it's like 22 pages of synthesizing all the notes from all those meetings. I'd be happy to share that out. And South Maui is mentioned, particularly the South Maui Gardens area, the Kalama Park area with regard to limited parking and all of that, yeah. So with regard to how we're approaching these hotspots, because our funding is limited, we're not sure if we'll get funding with this next DMAP. We need to select places. You know, we can only select maybe 2 or 3 places to put in the DMAP for management. And so with that in mind, we had to approach it as areas with a certain amount of complexity, and then also where there's the opportunity to partner and make a change. And we also need to stay in our lane as well, with regard to, you know, not doing the work of other agencies or the county. But of course, we always want to partner and support other agencies' efforts.
What does the D stand for in the DMAP?
So it stands for Destination Management Action Plan. And so this is a statewide initiative. There's a Destination Management Action Plan being made for each of the islands in the state. It's done by county, so ours is the Maui Nui Destination Management Action Plan, but each island within Maui Nui has its own DMAP. And what's good news is that Molokai has their own destination manager. Her name's Kui Adolfo. She's fantastic. And so she's working with the community there to develop their DMAP.
Megan, this is Adele. I was recently at La Perouse. I have not been down there in ages. I was amazed at the number of cars. I didn't know whether you're looking at that area.
Thanks for bringing that up. It came up a couple times in the community input session, but no, we haven't focused very much on that spot. We'd love to talk with you more about it.
For East Maui, it seems to me like traffic is a big issue, and ways to reduce the number of cars, visitor cars on the road, and of course also parking at waterfalls and things like that. I mean, I think people in East Maui I know people in East Maui would appreciate more people traveling together, like in tour buses, rather than each individual cars and take up the road.
Yes, so that's something that the Hawaii Visitors and Convention Bureau, Maui Visitors and Convention Bureau, our contractors, and the rest of our global marketing team, when it comes to the road to Hana, it's always recommended to go with a guide so that the local economy is being supported and that they're being, chaperoned, and it's a bit more of a controlled experience. something that you may have heard of Resolution 29. This is something that the Hana Highway Regulation Association has worked on, and it calls the Department of Transportation to convene larger conversations with different stakeholders about the issues along the road to Hana. And I'm hoping that some version of this can go into the DMAP so that we can be a convener of these conversations so that the whole thing can be approached more holistically. It's helpful to, focus on hotspots here and there and along the road to Hana, and yet there's just a multitude of issues facing that corridor.
Megan, as you mentioned the issue with funding, would you suggest that if community members are interested in this, that we should advocate to our state reps to support you?
Yes, please. That would be wonderful. That would be much appreciated. Yeah, it can be a challenge sometimes.
How much state money is involved in this program?
Right now, there is none. So the first Destination Management Action Plan for Maui, it had just over $1 million. The majority of it for Maui, the Maui Nui budget, went into the Malama Maui Hikina pilot program. The majority of it went directly to the 3 nonprofits that we worked with. And because the state audit was so critical of our work, and again, the audit was done a year before our work was completed, so the final reports weren't read. But because it was so critical, for that reason, this time we're not being given an allotment of funds up front like we were before. And instead, we have to really make a case for the different projects that we're doing. So that's why I'm hopeful that Save Honolulu Coalition has already done so much groundwork. They have a really clear vision about what they want to do out there. There's some measure of deal in our support for it as well, which is promising. And hopefully we can, write a strong enough DMAP that we can make that case, and legislators will give us our funding requests.
Aloha, Megan. I just want to thank you for doing this work, because I can see how living in those communities where the tourism is so intensively affecting the residents, they must feel voiceless, and to have a venue for being able to guide people and just make people conscious of them and that they need to be respectful seems so important. So thank you for doing that. And I'm sorry that that the state didn't see your satisfaction, the resident satisfaction on the survey after you questioned them about prior to the service and then afterwards.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and I think that, the direction that the legislators are pointing us in with regard to managing these hotspots and stewarding these special places, it's a good direction. I think it's very wise that the new DMAP will be focused on this. And we've, seen the proof of concept. It's been demonstrated, like at Ha'ena on Kauai and with, Holani Hana and Keahui out in East Maui and other places that are stewarding. I believe that's really where the most impact is going to happen, where that transmission and comprehension will be increased by visitors. Not necessarily through QR code, not through in-room TV ads, but face-to-face, personal interaction. That's where that relationship and that comprehension, that light bulb goes off, the message is delivered in the exact moment that it needs to be delivered to the right person in the right way. And my hope is that as we have this constellation of stewarded places throughout the state, when proper placemaking has taken place at these places, that people, visitors, and residents who are visitors to other parts of their own island will then recognize, okay, this is somewhere that I'm being welcomed to go to. There's people here to welcome me. This is a place that I can go. And they'll see waterfalls on the side of the road as less of an invitation to pull over and act in a way that they shouldn't, when they don't necessarily even think they're doing anything wrong, but it might be culturally inappropriate or environmentally insensitive. So I think it's hopeful.
East Maui, the things that you talked about seem to be more like mitigating some of the harm that's being caused, or some of the irritation that people are feeling. Whereas the Honolulu one sounds very ambitious. That sounds like really changing the game, like into not just passively guiding people to avoid harm, but to introduce them to wine culture, and so they benefit from their visit, but also the area benefits from their visit. It sounds very ambitious, but if it works out, maybe it'll be useful for other parts of the island too.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I just want to know, how often do you put people in these places? You showed us them sitting, at the curb, which is very important, waterfalls. How often do you place people, and how do you choose when? Weekends, daytime, the tourists, they'll go 7 days a week, so how do you decide how many and how often?
So with the Malama Maui Hikina pilot program, again, this is community-driven tourism, so the organizations that we partnered with determined what that frequency would be. They determined it would be 7 days a week, and then they determined the time frame based on when kind of the highest volume of folks were kind of procession down the road, so to speak. With Kaihululu and Waioka currently being stewarded now through county funds. Like I said, I think Kaihululu is maybe 9 in the morning or 10 in the morning-ish till about early afternoon. So they're also in a process of continuing to kind of determine when the peak times are that people are there. Right now, DMAP isn't funding any stewards on the ground, but we're thankful that the county is continuing to do those efforts out there. The DMAP funds are meant to be catalytic. It's a 3-year plan. So the idea is that they provide the kind of seed money, the upfront costs, hopefully show proof of concepts like Malama Maui Hikina did, and that then others like county or maybe other funding sources will carry it on. The good thing about Save Honolulu Coalition is that it'll be paid parking. So they'll, like I said, 30 visitors at a time, kind of timed reservations throughout the day, and that'll be paid. So then they have their own, revenue stream that can then carry this on into the future without state funds. Okay. Yes.
Twin Falls has a Kama'aina Day, the first Saturday of every month, and all the Kama'ainas are available or allowed. Is there anything like that in any other parts of Maui?
Not that I know of, but it was something that was resounding on all of our community input sessions, that there'd be rest days, Kama'aina days. So it's a very popular idea. People do really like that idea, but not to my knowledge. And I don't know how it could happen other than it being through a private business, like a private property. Anything else? Okay, well, I'm available afterwards, happy to talk the story with you, and please, if you could take a moment to fill out that form, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you again for the opportunity.
It's an early closing. You get to enjoy more the rest of your evening, and thank you for coming to our KCA community meeting. Aloha.
For the meeting.